My name is Elisabeth Castellon. I'm an advisor in Chambre d'Agriculture of Nord-Pas-de-Calais. I'm specialized in dairy farming, so I advise farmers about techniques and economics. That's my main mission. And I'm on the EuroDairy project. So we have, for the Oldbury project, we have a group in the region of Hauts-de-France, and with them we schedule one farmer exchange to go to discover dairy farming in other European region. And it's the group of farmers, they choose England for the first destination for this year. So we are 18 people there, mainly farmers. So some of them are pilot farm in the EuroDairy project, and some of them are farmer representative. And it's really a different kind of farm. There are some small farm with 40 cows, and one really big with 800 cows, and that's really big for France. And we try to have in the group an important diversity of system on size of farm to represent the diversity of dairy farming in our region. The main one, I think, is the size of the farms. For instance, the farm we will visit tomorrow, it's often 600 cows. And in France, the average is 50 or 60 cows for a farm, so there is a big difference in size. And so I think there's also an impact on the management of the farm, because it's not the same 40 or 600. And so maybe in England it's more managers than dairy farmers than in France, but I think we have a lot to learn about that. I hope a lot of exchange, despite the language problem that we have, and that the farmer come back to France with hope for the future of dairy farming in our region, but also in Europe.
Tom Rawson, Evolution Farming. This is a 700 cow dairy in Leicestershire, and we're operating on about 400 hectares of land. I believe the future advantages for GB dairy farming, certainly when you're benchmarking against the rest of Europe, is the ability to grow grass and pasture as a tool for really reducing our cost of production, which gives us really, along with Ireland, it gives us our USP over the rest of Europe. Constraints for GB dairy will probably be competition for land, mainly from expansions of population and housing, but possibly for future energy sources such as land needed to grow crops for the AD plant. I think if you're looking at things that need to change to make GB successful, I would say on the whole some of it's down to the mindset of the farmers that want to really need to reduce costs and focus on competitiveness and really trying to be as successful as we can. That is not for everybody, I get that. You know, farming is also a great lifestyle and a great lifestyle choice. But if we want to be competitive against the rest of the world, which we're now operating in a world market, we have got to have awesome business structures and business performance. And one key message I think from Evolution Farming to certainly French visitors that we've had on the farm is don't get too wrapped up in technology. Low tech is cheap and simple normally means low cost, especially 15-20 years down the line. So don't get wrapped up in all this modern technology when simple stuff will often do.
Okay, so my name's David Merritt. We're here at Oldbury Farm. The farm is a 189 acre farm. We also rent another further 30 acres. And we have 2 Delaval robots on the farm. for the GB Dairy, the advantages I see is that the fact that we've got a captive market on our doorstep who enjoy drinking fresh milk. So I think that's one of the fundamental the benefits we have in this country. Challenges for the industry I see are probably environmental pressures and maybe sort of some of the environmental pressure groups and probably public perception of the industry, and so that's what I see as the main issue. We've got this Brexit thing happening. I really don't know whether there's going to be any opportunities coming out of there. It's a big, it's a big world out there, and so there may well be some fantastic global opportunities. Obviously not for the fresh milk, but for the any other added value dairy products. Potentially, that there's a big marketplace out there. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. Maybe we've embraced technology over here. Modernisation, maybe sort of that type of thing. I think we're pretty good innovation and that type of thing over here. We're certainly, obviously where we are, we're a high input system, house system. But there's some good people in this country who have got the ability and focus on the more extensive systems, the graze systems. So I think, they could possibly learn from some of those type of systems, maybe.
Hello, I'm David Christensen, and we're here at Kingston Hill Farm, which is a rented dairy unit some 10 miles to the west of Oxford in the UK. We milk 660 cows, 520 of them in an autumn calving system and 140 of them in a spring system, and then we rear all the heifer replacements for the herds. And as we're trying to grow in numbers and also deal with bovine tuberculosis, we currently have about 600 heifers on the farm as well. I think we're really fortunate to farm in the UK because we have a lot of advantages. We have a great climate, we have a developed infrastructure, we have some good processes, and most importantly we have a huge market on our doorstep that's also expanding, and the even greater one of Europe just beyond our shores as well. So I think we've got a lot of advantages. We've got some drawbacks as well. It's difficult to get people, but I think that's the same the world over in dairying. There's a lack of understanding of primary agriculture with our wider public, and that's going to be a difficult one to get around as well. But on the whole, this is a great place to milk cows. So what would be our keys to success in the future? The absolute importance is efficient production, so we must focus on that at all time. Really good business management too, so budgeting, cash flow, good staff management, all those sort of areas. And then selling and being involved with the right processor. So in our case, it's selling to Arla Foods and getting involved with that processor as a cooperative so it can work in our favour and try and ensure a fair and decent milk price for us as farmers. My message to French dairy farmers would be, it's been really difficult the last few years. In our business we've felt it, and we've got scale and we're really efficient. So I've seen a lot of my colleagues in the UK feel it even more than I have. Now, I'm optimistic by nature. I think most of us who are dairy farmers have to be optimistic by nature, but I do think there's a promising future ahead of us. I think we should look at what caused the downturn we've just been through, and one of those variables will not happen again. That, of course, is the end of milk quotas. So that's taken some adjusting to, but I'm hoping that with that one behind us, the volatility will settle down. We'll always get some volatility, but I don't think it will be as bad as it's been. And then we just have to focus on being really efficient at what we do and selling to the right people, the right products, and we'll be okay.
Well, we visit three farms today, and it was three really different systems, but all really interesting for us. So the first one was a system in spring calving with a lot of grassland, and for us it was really impressive because it was a really big size farm with 400 hectares all around the farm, and it's never happened in France, so yeah, farmers were really impressed by it, and the farmers were really interesting, so yeah, farmers really appreciated this visit, and with the low cost system. And the second farm was closer than to the type of system we have in our region, with indoor cows and the milking robot, but it was interesting to see how the farmer is dealing with the point of view of consumers, and is doing a lot of work with children to explain his job on the welfare of the cow in a building. So yeah, farmers was really interesting by it. On the last farm we saw, yeah, I think farmers were really impressed and enthusiastic about it, because the farmers is really optimistic, and really he wants to adapt his system to be there tomorrow. And yeah, the main message for the farmers, it was to have a good tool, good condition for working, and a simple system is a good system. And yeah, the cubicles we saw, we have the same in France, so yeah, we know that it's also possible for us. I would say the size of the cattle and the regulations, because yeah, in France we have smaller cattle and they tend to grow, but because of the regulation and because also of the consumer pressure, farmers in France cannot grow. It's really difficult to have cattle above 200 cows, for instance, because of the regulation and consumer pressure. So I think it's the main difference between our two countries. I think it's the optimistic point of view of the farmers about dairy farming and the future of dairy farming. They know that it's maybe not the point of view of all of dairy farmers in England, but yeah, we saw that there is a way and different ways between the farms to adapt the system for tomorrow. And we are also conscious that with the Brexit here, there are a lot of uncertainty for the future of dairy farming, and more uncertainty than in France. So it's also good for us to say, so maybe we are not too bad at home with our conditions. I think they really have good conditions to adapt. When I saw the production cost of the farms, it's really lower than in France. So when we saw the average milk price and the production cost here, I think it's possible here to adapt the systems to be there tomorrow, because yeah, you have good condition, good weather condition, good land, and so yeah, it's possible.
So I'm Becky Leach. I work for AHDB Dairy as Knowledge Exchange Manager for the North. What advantages do I think that GB dairy farming has in the future? I think we've got a really large home market, and we've got some really good and technically exceptional people working within the dairy industry. Okay, the challenges to UK dairy industry, I think probably the most significant challenge will be succession in the industry. So we've got a lot of talented young people coming through, and we've got a lot of talented older generation retiring out of the industry. I think as long as we link those two up, that'll be the challenge, linking the right people and giving the right opportunities. There's probably one main thing that needs to change to make UK dairy successful in the future, and we probably just need to be a little bit more adaptable. So there's a lot of tradition surrounding dairy farming, and I think probably the challenges that are going to come forward are going to require us to probably think outside the box and be a bit more adaptable to what's presented with us as and when those challenges arise. So a message for the French dairy farmers would be, over the last couple of days we've talked an awful lot about how the UK and France might be different to each other, but actually they're also very similar in terms of the challenges that they present. I think we've all got technical skills and expertise, probably in slightly different areas. So I think the real opportunity for our French colleagues and for our UK dairy farmers is to collaborate together and learn from each other.